Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Killer7. So we're probably at the end here. It seems like we've gone back to the Union Hotel and we're going to go up each floor and see how each person in the Killer7 syndicate, Smith syndicate, was probably murdered in this hotel, possibly all at the same time on the same day, and then they became assassins as the split personalities. Now, I said fairly early in the playthrough of this game that I had miraculously kept myself clean of any spoilers of this game. I was actually very surprised as to how it played. But there is one particular spoiler that's going to have to happen that I do know about, although I don't know if it really changes that much. In the last level, we did a whole bunch of political intrigue stuff that kind of got wrapped up without actually being wrapped up, and we have this whole character Amir that I'm not sure we've really seen, unless it is supposed to be a case that Garcia Smith is actually Amir. So we saw in the first floor the hotel steward, or the hotel guy behind the desk, was killed when we found the blood stain. So the big surprise here would be if this isn't one of the 7 Smith personalities. Yep. There's Khan just sitting in this hotel. And you can hear Garcia whistling and shooting. Why specifically all these people would be in the hotel, I don't know. Why specifically killing all these people would make any sense, I don't know. If they were just assassin targets, that seems weird that they'd all be in the same place. It kind of comes off more like Garcia straight up is just a serial killer, spree killer, I guess is what you technically call it. Went to this hotel and just shot everybody he could find, possibly for no reason at all. We're not running into Heavenly Smiles. We may never see another Heavenly Smile in the game at all. And yeah. I don't think we can wake up any of the other personalities or do anything at all. Doesn't even seem like it's going to really let us even go into Harem's room anymore. 306. I think there's got to be a way in which you have a backstory, or more of a backstory, told against. We also have this golden gun now. And this is where we shot the cord and someone was electrocuted. Yeah, there had to have been a way, instead of having all the weird storyline happen here, that we got a little bit more backstory on each character without showing how they died or connecting to that. Even if we saw a completely fake backstory for each of the personalities, and then this was the real reveal, that would work fairly nicely. This is in the bathtub, so I'm wondering if this is going to be Kaede. Nope. Looks like it's Mask Day Smith. And looks like he still got shot. Noticeably, he was also in the shower, and he's not. They're not depicting any genitalia there, which, in all fairness, I don't think they really should have gone in that direction. Of course, you could have easily just animated that so he wasn't exactly in the shower, he was just standing out of the shower with a towel around him. That would have worked too. I was thinking that would have been Kaede, and that we would have gotten this weird actual nudity in low polygon form right at the end of the game. We did get a new character introduced really about an hour ago in game time, and it was showing a lot of skin. A anime type woman with a belt for a bra, and then a deep, I wouldn't even call it V-neck, just V cloth going down past her belly button and nearly to her groin in as far as the dress. And see, that character I bet doesn't show up ever again, and they didn't introduce quite enough characters to argue for a sequel for this game. Room 404. I bet these numbers don't mean anything. Yep. All of these characters were killed by being shot, obviously, and in a bloody way, so Kaede's blood abilities doesn't seem particularly unique because of the way she died. There she is. And she's fleeing in that dress. You might have even made an argument that it was a nightgown. And so she's hiding. And that explains why she has blood on her dress, but it really doesn't explain why none of the other characters don't have blood on their outfits. Master Smith being in the shower, okay. That might explain why his costume constantly is changing, but Khan's costume also changed. There's a real problem in this reveal, I would say, because it's not like... This is very colorful. This almost feels like a glitch. It's not like we really were given a real indication that each of the Smiths in the Syndicate were alive and normal human beings. Like it was fairly obvious there was something weird going on there. This would have been a much bigger reveal if the rest of the game hadn't been so weird. Here's Mills. Did everything get cleaned up, Garcia? I'm glad you're okay. It was the last promise. Anyway, I'll keep the explanation short. Most ballot booths are at schools. Interesting idea. The Education Ministry is in charge of the schools. The results of the elections are rigged from the start. Voting is just for show. Before votes are counted, the Education Ministry does a switcheroo. The biggest magic trick on earth. In other words, the most powerful man in the country is the Education Secretary. But the Japanese put him out. The dog bit back at his owner. Revenge for being left for dead. This is big trouble. Corrupt officials are at a loss. The country has been revealed for what it is, a monster. But will anything change? You expect some revolution? Well, a dog can't do poop. Has the dying country ever created anything worth its salt? Go and meet them. They're waiting up above. Trust my words. I wouldn't do you wrong. Alright, Garcia. Garci. Okay. So, there is an interesting question then why as far as the education minister, as far as the president's cabinet, is only fourth or fifth in line of taking over the presidency if the president became incapacitated, if this were real, this false conspiracy here. Because the president's cabinet goes in order of who takes over based on when each of those departments was created. And so there's like 4 other education ministry like groups that, like, department Secretary of Security or Homeland Security would be like the last one because that was created the most recently. So there was like 5 other organizations that would have had to have been created before the Ministry of Education Ministry, or whatever it really is called in the United States. Also, you'd have the president, the vice president would have to be eliminated. Too, it's just, so that idea doesn't make sense. The more on the nose, the idea of doing a switcheroo on votes, it could possibly work if the elections are tight and you do a lot of like controlling the media to make sure the elections always seem tight. But at a certain point, it would not work if, say, half of or a vast majority of people voted for one person and then another person got elected. There's a certain level of truth to that. You could potentially do that. It would just be very difficult to switch. It wouldn't just be, oh, it happens to be in the schools. A lot of voting happens in schools, therefore we can switch the ballots, and all the observers and all the other people there are either on the payroll or does or won't catch that the ballots get switched. Unless there's some magic to it. And if there was magic to it and they could just freeze time or walk invisible like Kevin Smith can, then the education ministry element of it doesn't even really matter. Let's see who we killed this time. Is this Dan? Looks like Dan. In kind of Japanese traditional underwear. So he just straight up goes out and then gets an angle here. That may not be Dan, that may have been Khan. Would each of these people potentially have been people who saw too much in the conspiracy? Is that what it's trying to boil down to? Is that Garcia is just a cleaner for the education ministry, and all of these people were just invited to this hotel, so they were in all one place where Garcia could come in and just kill everybody? It definitely seems like it's brighter now in some of these rooms and more of a colorful layout. This art style, though, is still kind of lackluster. And if you were going to remake Killer 7, I think you would probably go for a more realistic visual concept. Of course, really, I'm having major problems with the story in the first place, so if you're going to remake Killer 7, I would kind of want to change the story concept completely. Anyways.
So, you must be the one they call the Bloody Heartland. You
New
here
name.
to kill the Smiths, is that it? Rule of thumb, don't set your goals too high. What do you want? Who do you want, huh?
Who is this guy? Maybe the Smiths actually did exist as a group of assassins and you killed all the assassins. That would be intriguing. And then that would leave more backstory. I'm not sure which character that was, though. Like, as far as personalities. He's been saying it from the beginning, every time we selected Garcian Smith, that he was a cleaner. And so he's cleaning up a mess here by killing all these Smith assassins. And it does kind of explain why he is this separate character that seems to be different and disconnected from everybody else. And our gimp guy is gone. Our steward is different here. Can't get any more thick blood.
I'm a cleaner.
Yep. So it may be a case where if he's on channel 2, the Killer 7 don't include Garcian, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 would go up to this point, and then 10 and 11 maybe just other people that Garcian also killed. And our steward guy now is just completely different. And I'm just going to continuously lock myself into saving into this final save spot, so if I somehow soft lock myself in the game, I'll be messed up. Mills is the only person we're seeing still. Why the glum face? What happened? Garcia, don't cry. That ain't like you. The last thing I want to see is you crying, Garcia. It just don't feel right. I see. I realized it was after I was killed. I can see through your mask into your heart. Garcia, what's this emotion I now see? Tears of sadness? Or of hate? Tears of joy? Or of loneliness? Or mercy? I really have no idea. Except that I've never seen tears like those. The only way to wipe away those tears is to overcome the past. A person doesn't get into this line of work without a complicated past. Enter the final room. Meet with him. That way you can get on with things. Times are tough for both of us. I'll be waiting for you in my new sleek on the side of the sword. I don't even know what that last sentence was. I feel like Mills was actually voiced in talking to us until this point, and now we're into the weird, crazy voice stuff. Alright, we're on the 7th floor. And so that should mean this will be the last person that we killed, and then there's probably a roof floor for Harman himself. And I still don't think the person behind the desk, the clerk character, was one of the Smiths. If he is, I don't think we ever got to play as him. I don't know what it particularly means if Mills is now being voiced in that weird, crazy way. The weird, crazy voicing without actually having lines of dialogue, I think, again, made the game too weird for not a good enough reason. I like weirdness, but weirdness for no reason just does not work in any form of media.
Naturally, I found myself being led to this place.
Long journey, but it ends here, Garcian.
That looks like
Now,
Angel on the
I think it's
left.
time I called you by your real name.
And
Emir
maybe
Parkreiner.
Amir.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name's Harman Smith. I'm the man you saw in your past. Do you remember the incident where 6 people were murdered in this hotel? You must have seen it yourself. Because you were the killer. The assassin, Emir Parkreiner, was the ace of aces. Who would have thought the killer was a mere 13-year-old? It was a deliberate crime targeted toward the Smith Alliance. It consisted of 7 members, but the leader wasn't included in the 7. Later investigations found his dead body inside a safe of a school. The investigative unit called them the killer7. But the whole affair was never made public, not because this was an aberration from society, but because it involved national security issues. Unfortunately, a curse brought upon you by old traditions. You, Emir, are an assassin controlled by the government. Someone is watching your every move. From the second when I first took you in on the roof. You were one of the very few assassins with class, but you were out of control. Still, there was something venerable about you. Then it occurred to me, you were no longer a mortal being. Within you, ever so quietly, evil had opened its eyes.
Interesting. So we have Harman there, looking very differently than how we see him. And it looks like we've maybe got another doorway we're going to take now. Instead of going this way, we may be going out this way, or we may just be going to the roof. So, if we go here, still says Garcian Smith, and we still have the vision ring. So, Garcian this whole time may still be that 13-year-old kid Amir, or this could have all happened years and years ago. It's so weird that that's not just a straight cutscene, though. Like, why not just let the story play out all the way through? Why have this weird break? Why let me potentially come back in here? Why let me look at the TV?
Don't make me say it again. Don't make me say it again. I
mean, there's really nothing here. It's not even worth the time to save again. And every time we go in the elevator, it just goes up by itself. Now we're on the roof. And I guess this is probably the beginning of a final boss fight. Here's a great example of a texture that just would not really work in a video game well. While it is fancy and all, it does not read visually in a good way, so I could see people thinking, oh, these are steps and you're going upwards. I could see people thinking they're steps and you're going downwards, or just that they are jagged little breaks in the floor instead of just being too fancy of a tile. Right. So let's go check out the hallway first before we check out anything else. Let's go in the forbidden room.
What took you so long?
Nice view, isn't it?
And this is
It's
Angel and
Time
Harman.
here is warped.
To finish this game peacefully is my last wish.
Guess that won't happen. We've been interrupted again.
Has another come to surface?
A sight for sore eyes.
Haven't seen you around for a long time.
Come in.
Please.
That's just like a machine gun. Where'd we get a machine gun from? Although it kind of feels to me like he should be carrying a machine gun instead of a tiny little revolver in his jacket. You can see him pushing it back up. So yeah, what he's holding in his suitcase, I don't even know. No more choices. We've got to go upstairs. If we just killed Harman there in that forbidden room, an angel in the forbidden room, then who are we fighting at the end? It seems like everything would have been pointing towards Harman. I don't know if we're even going to get a boss fight. This may just be a really long collection of cutscenes. Yep. A three-eyed guy. Ooh. Looks like we can actually target him. So, they're still technically on the roof. And it does seem to me like this guy is either Garcian, not Emir, and Emir has just been pretending to be Garcian, or this is Emir finding himself. Why he has three eyes, I don't know. I guess third eye being opened, the secrets of the universe is being revealed might be the idea. You have an interesting little sky field here, star field, and then kind of insignificant building tops that don't look too different from some of the other building tops we've seen in some of the other parts of the game. There's nothing secret here. There's no heavenly smiles. There's no scanning to see. Nothing like that. There was that point here where previous in the game we could have shot the sun. Just go and walk to this guy. Yeah, and left to your own devices, I guess there's nothing else to target or to shoot. One shot. He starts a cutscene, closing a third eye. And then he just blows his head out. And is that the end of Killer 7? Let's see, Garcian.
No.
He's covered in blood.
It can't be. It's all a misunderstanding.
So what's in the box, I guess is the question. It's each of the guns of the Killer 7. Which I guess that makes some sense. Although frankly I was expecting heads. I'm gonna get some music here as we go to the credits. I guess each of these characters did have a few lines of dialogue, so somebody needs to get credits for that. Samantha Smith, I guess, was also a Smith. And you're getting the actual names of some of these characters. So there was a game party crew that worked on the game. And then Studio Dynamo, I bet, made all of the 2D animations. And then Orbital Link probably made the 3D animations. And somebody was actually doing motion capture even back then. This definitely shows that there was a lot of different people working on this game to put it all together and make a final product. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the cutting and pasting of 2 or even 3 games that would have failed to be long enough, or half-finished projects. So as much as you want to attribute this to Suda 51, the vast majority, or even Grasshopper Manufacturing, you really have to point out that a lot of this was made by a lot of different groups of people, a lot of different studios. And if it weren't for Capcom being the publisher and flipping the bill, I imagine this game would have never even come out. Yeah, Grasshopper Manufacture Incorporated really only getting to credit themselves for being developed by and then presented by Capcom, and that is an incredibly short amount of credits. And then we now have the Windows Edition, which I guess they're not really calling a remaster, coming in many years later to make it run on Windows. And now you see Grasshopper Manufacturing crediting themselves, but even at that, you have Suda 51 being an executive producer, and then 2 supervisors and 2 producers. NIS America, I think that might be Nintendo, one of the subdivisions of Nintendo, actually, interestingly enough. But Steam closed beta testers being credited as quality assurance people, whereas only 3 other people were named. Having seen the game here to this point, I feel like there's more stuff to know and more secrets to be revealed. I don't think this is the full story to just end on that cliffhanger. No, NIS is not Nintendo. NIS America is the American branch of Nippon Ichi Software. Yeah, as Nippon being the Japanese word for Japan, Ichi being the word for the number 1. So Japan number 1 software is what NIS stands for. Yep. 104 heavenly smiles being eliminated. What does that even matter? A wonderful smile is gone for eternity. That wonderful smile is gone for eternity. The end. This has got to be question mark, right? Save this file? Yes. Let's go ahead and save it. Target 06 Lion. Interesting. So 06 Lion would be the 7th target because they started with 00. And now we're shooting a flag. So post-credit section. Yeah, we really never got anything wrapped up with the Heaven Smiles or the whole moon stuff being shown or anything like that. And see, if that eliminated Garcian or Amir, that doesn't really mean that the rest of the destruction of the Battleship Island in the North Pacifica, assignment number 43, showdown, 3 years later. I guess Garcian is still alive 3 years later. We have a ridiculous car, which I guess is in line with that other ridiculous car that came out of nowhere. And looks like we are possibly playing as Maste Smith. Nope, we're playing as Garcia and Smith, but we have a black mask on. Mexican wrestling masks. It would make some level of sense that Emir was still a kid. He doesn't have the visionary ring on anymore. You know, it's crazy. We can't scan anymore. I just had to see the switch.
Son of a bitch.
The gold gun does seem to work, but I don't know if we're really getting blood here. This might be just an example of
Son of a bitch.
what the world is now. Is that this is just how the world is designed.
Son of a bitch.
I probably just need to run.
Son of a bitch.
Deserted building. So like the whole city may just be, or the whole world may be destroyed by Heavenly Smile. Yeah. So this guy was talking to you, Garcia, the whole time. And the Smiths offered to kill him for you. And instead you killed them. I don't know if he's got just like these kind of unique green glasses on, or if he's got a wrestling mask on. Right, so yeah, he may just not be able to collect blood, so this may just be a rush. I suppose that's supposed to be cracks in the window and not pantyhose hanging on a vine. Yeah, his eyes are just glowing green. It's not a wrestling mask.
Son of a bitch.
Want to move fairly quickly. Someone is walking towards me, but I can't see him. So It's a good thing I saved. But what I am gonna have to do here is just waste a lot of bullets and try to move fairly quickly without also running into things. I'm not going to get any extra help. In a funny way, this may just be a kind of example of what the game would have been like had a lot of the gimmicks of refilling your health not been in the game. Let's just wait till we get the...
Son of a bitch.
These may just be straight up, like, randomly spawning enemies. Suppose we should try something here. It was worth a try to see if maybe you didn't need blood to recover health and it would just let you recover health no matter what. So I just need to go quiet and see if I can hear anybody walking towards me. I have no idea where that one came from. Is anybody else walking towards me? I'm confused, to say the least. Either this is just actively trying to make you quit, or this is actively trying to make you memorize a lot of gameplay here. Would it make any sense to go back and play the other parts of the game? Would you think the game would even let you do that? I don't think so. There's far too much here that you can't skip. Right. My guess is possibly what I'm supposed to do. Is something like this.
Son of a bitch.
But this isn't working.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, you know what?
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
All I have to do is press the B button. It's just reminding me that the B button exists. So I don't even have to target them. I just have to press the B button. and it will just auto-target. So it kind of just seems like it's not even, these enemies aren't even really there. Which, yeah, that felt like that was the case throughout the entirety of the game, really, is that the enemies really aren't there. And that this was all just a hallucination happening in Amir's mind. And what do you know? That does seem very similar to exactly what the case was. Well, I don't need to shoot, but I'm trying to hit B just in case there might be something to target in here. I don't think there really is. Yep. This is a problem certainly with just not having consistent gameplay mechanics. It's just not the thing you're doing most of the time. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
They seem like they're getting stronger versions of these enemies. Right.
Son of a bitch.
I think we still may have a case where you have to kind of move kind of fast here. Yeah, I guess consistently I've just been playing this game wrong. The fact that you can play a game wrong is always a problem for how a game is developed more than anything else. But the fact that it wants you to hold the A button to move forward, then it wants you to go into targeting mode, then it wants you to scan, then it wants you to hit the B button. It's just far too many button inputs for what should just be a standard hold the right trigger and target, or hold the left trigger to go in aiming mode and then right trigger to shoot type gameplay controls that you would see in any other game. We finally see where this Coliseum leads, and I'm pressing the B button and seeing that there's nothing here and that there's no map. So we're finally, I guess, going through this shed / stairs, I guess is what they're calling it, which is just going to magically take you somewhere else. Down and down we go. It'll be fairly annoying if we do actually see all the content in this first run, and then we have to play Killer 8, the new Game Plus element, which I'm not sure I 100% understand what that's going to be. And we're now in Battleship Island in the passage, which, yep. I don't know if there's anything to be too worried about here. We run into a lot of these hallways that are just kind of empty, just wasting the player's time. Yeah, I wish there was about 2 or 3 times as much gameplay in this game as it has, and then just a total rewrite on the story to something completely different, which I guess ironically that would be probably what you would want to do, is just make a new game and not call it Killer 7 and just say Suda 51 has a different idea. It's kind of like Killer 7, but it's not going to tell the same story or have the same characters in it, because we don't want to touch something that is beloved by its niche fandom. And I guess in a lot of ways that might be what No More Heroes kind of is. There's definitely some major improvements compared from this game to No More Heroes, and I don't think Suda 51 worked on anything else. I would also venture a guess that the Silver Case, which is a flat kind of visual novel game, is probably significantly worse as a game than Killer7 is. So Suda 51 is getting better by leaps and bounds. He did potentially get trapped in making 3 mainline No More Heroes games and a side No More Heroes game that nobody liked. Yeah. I guess this is probably Harman. If not...
You boys are almost done. You don't need to go around killing everybody anymore.
I don't know who this guy
Last
is.
of the Heaven Smiles is in the back. The big boss. If you do him, then it means you've eradicated all of them. No more terrorism. Hail to the free world. But I wonder, what'll become of you guys if terrorism is the law of nature? You know, you should kill me now, because you don't want us hanging around, know what I mean? If I'm alive, I'll give you a run for your money. Even an assassin like yourself. Better be prepared, because blood must atone for blood. So, which will you choose? Your own country, or watch our retribution? Your fucking decision.
So we could kill him, or we could let him live. And I guess I think you kill him. We've been totally focused on killing everybody up until this point. Let's kill him. First time we have a split decision. And now we'll go through the door. And I guess maybe that means that's the end of this, and I don't even have a gun I can pull out anymore. And we have a room, and we have Harman on the floor. And so we are walking back into like the trailer room. Let's turn on the TV and see if we can get Harman to wake up. Nope. He's not in the wheelchair, even though he is in his old self. Let's see. We could go to the basement, or we can walk this way and do nothing. Harman's room has a metal door on it when it didn't have a metal door before. Now it looks like we're chasing after Hiroyuki, which I kind of thought we wouldn't see him. He really isn't getting any kind of backstory. We can pull out the gun again. We're just chasing around. So, let's see, is this guy gonna attack us? Multiple shots to actually kill Hiroyuki. Was that face supposed to be somebody I recognize? I don't even know. So we get a flat 2D cutscene. Japan destroyed in 2014 in an attack by the United States. It seems like we got nuked by a missile too. And again, these cutscenes feel like they may have been part of that limited series. And it kind of feels like we're getting credits now for the limited series anime. At a certain level, if they're going to credit the story to somebody other than Suda51, I guess that takes the blame off Suda51. Like, in No More Heroes, the story is much more simplistic, so I bet Suda51 probably did write the story in No More Heroes and not in this game, which is far, far too complicated. This just reeks of early 90s or mid 90s anime of just having incredibly convoluted, not even complicated, convoluted is the right word, storylines for no good reason. Like, this really should have been a story of just some dumb fun assassinating people for the heck of it. And honestly, this really should have been like an arcade light gun shooter that could have just continuously gotten more targets. Kind of what they eventually did with the Hitman series in the reboot is that they tried to make it a game as service, something that they could just improve upon and add more targets over and over again over the years. Shanghai 100 years later. Interesting. Now we are playing as Harman. And we can see Angel here. And we can see a very brightly lit Shanghai. 100 years later. Shanghai, China. I cannot turn around and I cannot wheel forward. Right. So I am supposed to just, I guess, shoot at this point. Which last time I shot his hand, I wonder if this time I should shoot him in the head. Nope. Still gotta shoot the glowing hand. This is exactly what we saw at the beginning of the game.
You're awake from your nightmare.
Harman, the world won't change. All it does is turn. Now, let's dance.
So, I think Angel was the one that created the Heavenly Smiles, so this would just be 100 years later, Angel brings the Heavenly Smiles back. Written, designed, and directed by Suda51. Well, I guess at that point, you're saying that was written by Suda51, so yeah. We've seen 3 different credits now at this point. Thank you for playing killer7. Capcom registered trademark or registered logo, not trademark and not copyrighted, although registered kind of does mean copyrighted. I'm going to go ahead and make a save file here. So we can see the other ending. Now this is yellow, where this was red always before, as far as the main menu looked. And this is Killer 8 mode now. So we have Killer 8, Killer 7. Before we see what Killer 8 is, let's go ahead and just load. There's no data from Killer 8 on the save file. Right. Continue here. How far back is this save file going to be? I don't think it's that far back. But it is going to be kind of far back. Noticeably, this game has been really, really bad about giving us any kind of boss fights. Like, it's just not a good experience. So I guess that Battleship Island in the North Pacific, maybe that's supposed to be an indicator that this is a Japanese island. Right.
Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch.
All right. And then we can just run, and if we don't hear any sound effects, we're perfectly safe. But undoubtedly, they would have wanted people to have experienced this other ending without having to play through the whole game a second time. Although maybe they did just want it. This game is not really that short. Not by modern standards, for sure, but even when this originally was released, I don't know if the idea of playing this a second time makes any real sense.
Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch.
Seems like if I run fast enough, I'll avoid anybody respawning. Boy, did they not really do anything with this Coliseum. You would have thought that there would have been a huge boss fight here. It just doesn't happen. And there wasn't another option at the Coliseum to go somewhere else, was there? I don't think so. It seems weird for Garcia to be carrying around his luggage with all those different guns if his personalities are gone. Which it seems like they're gone. Or at least dormant. And it kind of is a kick in the gut, certainly, that you could spend all that time leveling up maybe one character all the way to the max and not all of them.
You boys are
And
almost-
let's see, let's let him live. And it doesn't even matter because you end up playing with Garcia and then the golden gun. Anyways. Sorry, I'm drinking water. Duzo. Now we are back to no gun mode. And we're back to Harman. And so it kind of seems like nothing really is different other than that one decision at the ending. That certainly is an old-fashioned way of doing things and a bad way of doing things, certainly, to have a decision at the end of the game. Right. Let's go in the living room and see if there's anything to do here. No. So you still end up going in the basement. And it still seems like we end up killing the guy. Unless there's some other trick to this. You can just walk up here. And like, unless you're supposed to just leave. The bee doesn't actually target him. Like, unless I'm supposed to hit him in the groin or something. Seems like it gives you a lot of opportunities to not kill this guy. But I honestly couldn't tell you what the other thing would be. Like, if we were to run this way, all the way back, and then go in the hallway, and like maybe go in the Harem's room. Yeah. It's just we don't have any items. So if I was to just straight up try and leave, I guess we need to figure that out. If we're just gonna let people leave. Nope, you can't leave that way. You can't leave this way. So I have no idea why it takes extra bullets to kill the guy when it definitely seems like that's the goal. Like, it really doesn't seem like there's any other option. Other than this. We could target him from this direction. And then we see this face, and I'm still not sure if that face is supposed to just be Uwazaru, or if that's supposed to be Garcian's face, or what. We do have it doesn't look like Garcian's face. So this time we get a different animation, in which we don't get attacked by missiles. Instead, there's battleships coming. The animation here still looks incredibly low resolution and just bad. And interestingly, you have that 3D CGI look on that character. Retribution definite in the year of 2014. The UN Allied forces launched a full-scale attack on the United States. So instead of Japan being blown off the map, Japan with the UN forces attacked the United States. Which honestly doesn't mean anything to me at all. It has no connection whatsoever as to my interest. Generally speaking, I think I don't like politics in video games. In any way you would possibly speak of politics, but particularly a crazy political idea like this. Yeah, because it's just not something that I think most gamers want to pay attention to while playing the video game. And it's definitely not something I pay attention to while playing a video game. As best as I can figure, the UN forces are some part of Japan. But yeah, there's far too many different organizations in this game. I could not for the life of you tell how half of the characters that we executed had any connection to the overall plot, if they did have any connection. And this may very well just be the exact same storyline. Yeah, it looks like it is the exact same thing. 100 years later, Angel and Harman are back in these forms, and the Heavenly Smiles are just appearing again, I would assume. And it has to be said 100 years later to make any sense.
You're awake from your nightmare.
Harman, the world won't change. All it does
And this is set
turn.
in Shanghai, so
Let's dance.
China like didn't really have any part in the politics in the story at all. It's not really a really satisfactory ending, which at a certain level I guess we're not really done with the game. I'm not sure I really want to play the game anymore though. I could play the game, certainly. I'm not struggling with it as long as I can kind of figure out what the game really wants from me. It really is just going to come down to like Killer 8. Whether Killer 8 matters or not. Killer 8 may very well not be a New Game Plus in the traditional way at all anyways. Like, it may start us right back at the beginning, and that would be weird. Alright, so we click Killer 8. Click continue, I guess is what we want. We have no saves files at all, so it is just seemingly a new game. Difficulty setting, bloodbath, a new personality will awaken. So we're at Angel here. This whole moon thing never amounted to anything. I'm confused, certainly. Would this story make more sense now that we know the big reveal? Probably not. Not by much. You can see a crack in the wall that seems like you could blow up with Mask Day Smith. There's Mills walking past you, and it seems like he would be handing something to you, but he didn't hand it to you. If anything, it maybe implies that Mills is just a made-up character in the mind of Emir / Garcian. I'm not sure I even believe the Emir stuff, but let's just buy that for a second and say it is Emir. So much of this game does just kind of feel like it is not real.
It's me. So you there yet?
You mean this shit on?
That's where they all hang out. Our information tells us that there's 14 of them.
And they're all
14.
fun.
Keep one alive so we can ask who the boss is.
Anything else I should know?
Nah, not really. You'll know when you see them. They're, different.
Will do.
May the Lord smile.
And the devil have mercy.
And so we never hear that guy, and we never see another phone call taken. We just have the annoying answering machine. Free-for-all fight on a multi-purpose facility, Celtic building. Assignment 33. Destroy the Heaven Smile headquarters and capture the chief alive. So they say 14 of them, which definitely gives me the idea that that isn't the Smith group. Now playing this stand.
It's dangerous.
And it's only at the beginning
friends
here.
Are all dead. They were all murdered by people that look like this. I have been chosen.
So was that the
Shit.
kid?
There's more than 14. Those bastards are breeding.
Guess he just spit out his gum. Definitely seems like everything is still the same. He says his name at the beginning. Interesting. So you get little bits of information if it matters to you. Let the bloodbath begin. I want to check specifically if this other mode would have, if there was a higher difficulty setting I could have been playing on.
Don't make me say it again.
Alright, so we have Garcian, we have Dan.
Did you notice?
She is at 0.
I never noticed.
She has no abilities. You have to kill 11 people to get Kevin, Coyote, Khan, Masked Day Smith. Like, and then we've got Harman Smith now unlocked, and then that still leaves a 10 and 11. You just have a machine gun here. Everything here is back to read again if you cared about that. I do want to check what saving would look like if I tried to save in slot A. Interesting. So I'm going to save in slot B, 7th spot. Just out of caution so I don't overwrite something. But it does seem like you have 14 save spots. And this is just like... Doesn't really feel like that's a heavy hitter as far as a weapon is concerned. but it does certainly change your experience. I doubt Travis is going to say anything. The chief killed me. I already forgot. I'm Travis. The killer got killed on the job. Let's be honest here. You think I'm in a pain in the butt, don't you? Let's just skip that. Skip that. And skip that. So, with this, you all of a sudden don't really need to aim so much. And there seems to be fairly high amount of drift here. But yeah, you won't actually be able to take him out without a charge shot. And a charge shot here still needs we need the blood. I don't feel like that was a red charge spot core, so the enemies do seem like they're going to be more difficult. Is it game better though with a higher difficulty? Or are you just gonna have to grind through it again? Almost certainly you can't. Almost certainly can't run up there and take on the guy. Without defeating the duplicator character. Yeah, we are just not getting any blood here. You should be getting a lot more blood off of this. There's like only one other enemy in this whole section. No wonder I had such a problem with this level the first time I played, too. Also, it seems like there's no penalty for dying at all. There was no achievements in this game.
I'm a cleaner. Look. What did you?
Later.
Peace.
Interesting.
Look, don't make me say it again.
It's interesting that it doesn't just by default force you into playing as Garcian like it does in the rest of the game. There is really just wow. And without that stamina ring, you certainly are going to die. Oh, very poorly. So honestly, I don't think I can... Like, I don't think I can really do too much here on Bloodbath difficulty. Seems like the difficulty is just set really, really high. And unless I am screwing up by not talking to Iwazaru, which maybe is the case. Let's just pretend like we talk to him. And then let's run. Let's pretend like we talk to him. Like we're really not getting any blood. Let's pretend like we talk to him. Let's pretend like we talk to him. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm going real quiet here as I'm trying to actually not die. We're making any progress at all on Thin Blood. Do I have to get criticals? Do I have to hit him within a certain distance? Do I have to be within that blood spatter? Do I have to just kill a lot of these guys? Is it a ridiculous amount? Looks like we do have one vial now. So, I guess the thing we could do is See if 1 vial is good enough. If not, it's 3 vials. Yeah, it's gotta be 3 vials that are necessary. And all of a sudden we're starting to get blood, so it seems like you just had to kill a certain number of people first before you could get any blood. Which is weird. So let's kill about 5 more people. We're going way too long here. And what's crazy about this is I know there's a certain point where Harman in his wheelchair stands up and walks. I could have sworn there was a point like that. And yet that spoiler, sorry, but I gotta cover it now, seems to just not take place in the game at all. Or in the first coverage of the game. And I just can't imagine that I want to play any more of this game. Maybe ever, but maybe just... Let's see. Nope, we're still really just trying to collect... Does this guy just not collect blood, I wonder? Maybe I have to target critical points. I could see myself being willing to come back and play this game on bloodbath mode in a couple years. It would be somewhat difficult to be somewhat capable of playing at that point, but yeah, this is just not working. We don't have Master Smith. Let's just try Kun. I just don't think Harman collects blood. This may be a case where you have to play as Dan specifically to collect blood too. Because I don't think these characters would have been awake. Or it might just be a case that Dan is so incredibly slow that they get close enough to collect the blood. And if bloodbath mode means you really have to be right next to them to collect blood, that's crazy. If that was really the gameplay mechanic that they wanted to emphasize on this game, oh, they certainly didn't explain that well. If anything, it feels kind of just like the opposite of a samurai sword fight where you don't want to leave blood on your sword. Just wait until these guys are close enough to the point where they nearly hit you. We're at 2 now. Well, I think I need 3. So it is specifically just Dan. This is just like the worst section of the game by far. Right at the beginning. In a lot of ways, it would probably make more sense if you went through the school first, just because that was more visually decorated. But then that would introduce a mirror. Although introducing a mirror as a concept early in the game and then giving you a ton of time to forget about a mirror would be an interesting twist to foreshadow it. I seriously think it is that you have to just let them get really close to you. Like, obviously that would be on me. Yeah. There's just no way that's ever gonna work for me, though. Let's pretend like we listen to him. Salt shells didn't play any role in the game. So, if you really have to be smattered in blood to collect blood now, and that's what bloodbath mode means. Oh, that certainly would suck. I guess I have to just remind myself what this whole floor is about. Let's see. Yeah, there's way too much of a level here. I don't even think it's worth it to try and find a save spot. Alright, so let's exit back to the main menu. What we really wanted to see here was a new game plus. And is this going to load? Or is it just stuck at a black screen? Well, that might be just as inappropriate of a place as anywhere to end the game, too, or in this series. I could see myself maybe in a couple of years coming back and playing Killer 8 and seeing some kind of true ending at the very end of Killer 8, but there's nothing right at the beginning that makes it feel like it's going to be any different experience whatsoever. We never really got any backstory for the Smith Syndicate characters, or in their original form or in their alternate personas. Yeah, and this is just straight up crashed, I think. I mean, I could probably fix that. Yeah, let's just fix that. Exit the game, force quit it, and then launch it again. But that definitely wasn't a satisfactory ending, and that definitely wasn't quite the twist that I thought I was going to see here in the game. Mature subject matter. It does say mature subject matter, but it really didn't go anywhere. I kind of would have liked to see Samantha Smith as a character explained better as to why there was a good Samantha and a bad Samantha as a concept. So we could have played on deadly mode instead of normal mode. But even if I was going to play on normal mode, we're not seeing a new game plus mode here for deadly. So honestly, I just don't get the whole upgrade system. It doesn't quite make sense. Being limited on hints doesn't really change anything. You can skip learning the controls. You can skip as much cutscenes as possible. Still one guy. You are seeing criticals immediately, so you probably should have just played on deadly mode. The whole Camilla Smile characters. That helped me get... I guess the idea was to have killed the Camilla Smile by shooting it a bunch. Wow, and I'm like at 8 now. 100 deciliters, 8 here. Yeah, the game now, I would say, is so much easier to play in deadly mode than to have just played it in regular mode. Now sure, at some point I imagine you'll run into some struggle, but it may not be that much of a struggle. If it's the same enemies but you have to get critical hits, that's probably not much of anything different. I guess it would just mostly come down to how many dumb shots. Let's see how many shots it takes when not hitting a critical. It's not that bad. Not that bad at all. Hey, let's exit back to the first floor. And then let's see if we can exit back to the main menu. Or if Killer 8 is just always going to be broken. Yep. I am confused. New game here gives you only Bloodbath, which makes me kind of feel like there's some other option. That just pops up the menu, and yeah, so we'll ignore that. Yeah, there's really no options in this game. Yeah, I kept myself amazingly not spoiled on this game, and honestly, maybe I should have been spoiled on this game. It's a weird thing to say, I know, but that's really where it boils down to, is that The only thing I've ever seen about this game is I saw Harman standing out of his chair and walking. And maybe I'm not even thinking of Harman. Maybe I'm thinking of something that happened in No More Heroes. Maybe I'm thinking of something completely different. It would make a lot of sense if he did stand up at some point as a big twist in a final boss fight at the end of Killer 8. But to have to play the whole game from the beginning in bloodbath mode just to get that little bit of extra content just doesn't seem worthwhile. Particularly seeing how there's just like no new game plus concept here, which really doesn't make any sense when you have upgraded abilities. Like, the only way in that first playthrough I would have been able to upgrade everybody is if I had stood for, I would imagine, at least an hour and a half shooting the same enemies getting spawned over and over again. And there's just no collectibles in the game or no achievements in the game that would really make you want to do that. And getting a character all the way to level 5 didn't really change much anyways. I will, in this series, since this episode has gone really long, at an hour and 46 minutes, saying I wished I liked this game a lot more. I wish I could have been more with the niche fandom that loves this game and thinks of it as a cult classic. But yeah, it just doesn't quite have enough polish. Perhaps if I hadn't played No More Heroes before this game, I might have seen something in it that I just don't see now. Or if I had played this game when it first came out many years ago, the competition may have been much smaller. If this game, for instance, had come out around the time of, say, GoldenEye 64, where we were just at the beginning of the idea of first-person shooting games and there was no competition, then I could see why this game would have stood out as being interesting and different. But had this game come out, say, around the time of even Halo 1 or Halo 2 or past that point, then this game falls behind severely compared to those games as far as just how they control and how they shoot. And certainly nowadays, recording this at the end of 2022, this game does not hold up. And yeah, I wouldn't really want to see Suda51 try to remake it in any way, either. Like, the whole idea doesn't really work. The story is crazy, the gameplay mechanics are crazy, it doesn't have enough content in it, it doesn't have big enough areas. It probably should be an on-rail shooter. If not, it should be maybe an open world game where you're investigating and finding a whole bunch of collectibles and extra things. None of that really makes quite enough sense to make it feel like Killer 7, though. Yep. And I feel like I'm just going to go around in circles with my criticisms, which aren't very deep criticisms. This really is a game where it's just mediocre praise and mediocre criticisms. But I definitely would say it's too long of a game if you include the idea of playing Killer 8 and playing the whole game a second time. And I heavily suspect there might be a Killer 9 and there might be a Killer 10, which would just unlock other characters with other guns, but yeah, I don't think it's really worth that. It's a far cry from something like Resident Evil 4, where you would want to play Resident Evil 4 a second time because you would have that new game plus with upgraded guns, and you'd be working towards a secondary goal of buying either upgrades for the guns you already have or some of the unlocked guns that you get after beating the game the first time, like the Chicago typewriter that cost 1 million pesetas in Resident Evil 4. So you'd play it a second time. Honestly, I probably played Resident Evil 4 in comparison 5 or 6 times over different consoles. Noticeably, Killer 7 not really ported to other games, consoles, not really replayed, where it's the same publisher, Capcom, but Capcom republished and resold and repackaged Resident Evil 4 over and over and over again, and totally abandoned Killer 7, even though they make reference to Killer 7 in Resident Evil 4. They also abandoned a couple of other games that didn't sell well enough. And yeah, maybe it is time for Capcom to potentially revisit that. If they can make a Killer 7 that felt a lot like Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 7, well, that would be interesting. I don't know if it really works. Even if you compare the Resident Evil storylines, as crazy as Resident Evil storyline is, it's way more comprehensible than Killer 7's storyline. Anyways, I'm trying to wrap up here. That's going to be it for this series. Maybe someday I'll come back and play Killer 8, but no promises. If you want to follow along and check out any of the other games I've ever covered, there is a playlist tab on my YouTube page that has a playlist for every game I've ever covered. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And of course, I always ask people to like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell. And if you want to do even more than all of that, you can click a link down below to Patreon to support me, or you could just friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.